Hey guys, today I'm working on this Allied Commercial 10-ton gas pack, the model KGA 120H4. It is 233 phase, and we're going to work on putting an economizer section on this air conditioner. The benefit of an economizer has the ability to give free cooling, and what that is if it is under whatever set point, under 70, under 60 degrees outside, and indoors is calling for cooling, instead of ramping up the compressor and running refrigeration, it can just open up a hood here and bring the cold air in from the outside, pump it directly into the ductwork and distribute it throughout the building, and then also exhaust some of the air back through the return. So to get started here, we need to shut off the power. That's absolutely key. So over here there is a knife switch. I'm just going to turn it to off. That way we don't get electrocuted, we don't fry any components. The economizer section goes right here on the return air side. Also, for the purpose of this video, we're going to have to take off the electrical access door, as well as the horizontal return air door right here. That's how I know it's the return. This is the supply, this is the return. We can pull these off and show you what's inside. Let's start with this one, because this is the most important one for this video. In fact, after this comes off, it will not go back on. Instead, we'll put in a hood that allows the air to come through. There's about 100 different screws that we're going to have to remove today, so that's why I brought my trusty Milwaukee M18 Surge impact driver. It kicks butt. Alright, like I said, this one we are no longer going to need. So as you see, you have your filter panels, and you're probably going to pull those out. There is a separate filter system down in the return air of this building, just so you don't have to get up on the roof to change them every time you need a filter change. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those out because they are nasty. Your access door. And you have these racks that you pulls the filters out. Yeah, they're bad. We left these in during the construction process just to give an added layer of protection to our coils. We'll leave these in. Alright, we're going to leave this panel off for now. I don't think we'll be needing it, but you have the compressors, you have the UVAP coil. Alright, now let's take off the electrical access door and the return air horizontally. Now these screws I don't want to lose, because I'm going to have to use every single one of them going back in. I'm going to gather them up. They're all about the same screws. They're number 8 screw with 5/16 hex head. Alright, so let's go over the items that come with this economizer. They've changed this model up quite a bit over the recent years. I don't remember what exact model this is. I think it's the 54 K43, something like that. It is the standard efficiency economizer with single enthalpy control. So let me go over those parts real quick. First part is the barometric damper door. All it does is when there's excess pressure in the building, swings open to relieve the pressure. It's going to go on the bottom section. The next I have the actual damper that's going to go inside. Now this is a big damper. It's difficult to get this in. We're gonna have to take the top of the unit off and get it positioned just right so it's not in the way of anything, but does its job. This part of it, it's a divider, and it's easy to take off with just a couple latch pins. They're on springs. See it right here. Latch pin right here. Just pull. There's 2 holes that it goes through. It's hard to install this with that in place, so we're going to pull it off. You have your instruction book. You have a bag of extra screws, a zip tie. Then in this box we have the hood assembly, which will go, there's a hood on the top and a hood on the bottom with the divider in between. So let's get started. I got to take the top off of this and then prop it up so that I can slide the damper into place. I'm not going to take the entire top off. It's probably recommended to, but if you prop it up, you can slide the damper in place. I just don't want to pull the motors out of the condenser fans. I missed one important part of this. It's the Economizer control. It comes with this unit. It's actually going to mount about right there. We'll get there in a minute. It comes with the harness attached to it, as well as comes with a separate harness that on some of the older models does not come installed, but on this model it is installed. You can actually see it right here. If you do have to install this, there is instructions on it. For the purpose of this video, we're not going to show how to do that. The instructions say if you already have it installed, check this. So we're not going to end up using that. Also with the Economizer kit, you have a outdoor air sensor, which is that. It's going to go on the Economizer damper, as well as a indoor air sensor that's going to go on. It doesn't look like a sensor, but it is. It's going to go on the blower compartment. So it goes off to the side for now. Direction of this Economizer, you have to have this side facing out because the divider has to go into it. Also, this has to be at the top, so it essentially goes in almost right up against the coil or up against the filter, about like that. The foam stripping is to help keep leakage going around it, but I found it's very hard to get in place without bunching up. This thing does weigh about, I don't know, 75 pounds. It's not a dream. Try not to puncture the coil. When it's in place, this should be about level with the top front. I think that'll about do it. Good. We try to fix some of this weather stripping. Just to try to clear the gasket so it doesn't leak. Looks pretty good to me. From this point, we can do the divider section. It goes about right here. This out of the way. Pull those pins. we go. And this is actually going to screw to the face of this with one screw on each side, just the top one of the two, through this weather stripping. When we're done, the hood will actually sit on the outside of this, so you won't need this gasketing up here. Doesn't do a whole lot. These are not a self-tapping screw. There is a spot to put the screws through. Put those right there. That helps keep each of the hoods separated. There we go. That's the divider. That's good. This is fine. We're going to drop the top back on. About all we need. There is one piece that does have to go in place here, and I had to go back and do it on the last one, but it's a drip edge. It's designed to go in between the roof of the air conditioner and the hood to keep the water to shed away from the internal components. We can slide it in after we get this down. Alright, let's find that drip edge. I believe that's it right there. There's two different pieces that look like that. This one doesn't have a big flat spot here. It's just holes with the it lines up with these holes. You can designate it by those 3 holes in a row that correspond to these holes. Put this one back on. Filter access door. I'm all out of screws, so I'm using these ones. Alright, now I'm going to take off the filter access door, and we can see where to attach that indoor filter sensor. There is a series of wires here that dead end. Right there. Should be able to just pull on, just white wires. The only two that don't have an ending, and they're going to come down. I like to zip tie them to these other wires just to keep them out of the way, and then that sensor is going to go right over it on this screw. It just looks like a yellow, wire ring, but it actually does have sensing capability on this screw attachment, and it goes right next to the blower assembly. Grab a light, maybe you can see it better. So right there on that second screw in, we'll just take that out and put this on. to get this caught in the belt or anything, so we're going to zip tie it out of the way. Also, on the heat pump models, you want to stay away from the refrigeration lines because the hot gas bypass on them is really hot and could possibly melt these wires. I think we're just going to leave it like that. Let's put the door back on. Completely done with that section. This one's a gas package unit, so it has the intake air, combustion air for the burner assembly right through the face of this door. Comes in right here for the gas manifold and exhaust here. Let's work on wiring. We're going to need these screws for this. Just going to dump them out right here. There's a couple special screws that come with this packaging that hold the control board in place. They're right here. As well as it's like a little follower that can help get the holes lined up. Okay, so you have two screw holes on this. One right here, one right here. And they will be mounted this way. There's actually two holes that line up with the same pattern here and here. Probably easiest to do the outer one first. Tighten those up and the control board is mounted. So as you see here, it basically has two plugs and they go into each other. But that wouldn't do any good. So one of them goes here where there is a loop filled. What this loop is, it goes to wires in series with the Y wire, which is your cooling wire, so that whenever it calls for cooling, it just bypasses and goes straight to the compressor. But we want the economizer control to decide whether to open up the dampers and run free cooling or not. So all you have to do is pull that 15-pin connector out of the way and you can discard it. A lot of people, they'll actually leave it in the unit just in case in the future, if you ever want to do away with the economizer, it's as easy as put that back in place. Your economizer is out of the series. So I'm just going to leave it in here. Future people, if they want to bypass the economizer. Pins just line up, clicks together. It's really easy. With the other part of this harness that comes off the control board, there are actually some knockouts. They're even knocked out already, just covered by a piece of foil tape that you can just punch through. And you can see they're the exact right size as these two plugs. And these two plugs just snap in place. Just like that. And of course we'll zip tie those wires out of the way. But that enters into our damper door compartment, where you have the damper harness already set up. And it's literally as easy as just plugging this in. There's one more thing we need to add to this section, and that is the outside air sensor. It looks like this. The bracket that it goes on looks like this. And there is a wire harness for it, this one right here. But it doesn't plug in directly. You actually have to put this resistor in line. This little part took me like a half hour to figure out the first time I did this. So in order, it's basically a male-to-male spade connector, and you just plug it onto the female side of the sensor, just like that. Now you have both male connectors and both female connectors. Plug those together, just like so, and that's set up. All we have to do, mount this sensor. There's already pre-drilled holes for it right there, and mount it to the bracket, just like that. That. Got the bracket in place. Nice and easy. Then you just plug this into the remaining plug. Bring it all the way. Line up the rounded sides and the square sides. Plug that on. Easy enough. Then we're going to zip tie these wires out of the way. It does come with one zip tie that can plug into a hole here. So wrap these wires together. Get off the excess. Just like that. I've finished with the wiring. There's a couple notes that I have for you on programming this control. I am not a genius when it comes to programming controls for indoor air quality, dehumidification. It can do all those things. I just leave it on the factory setting. But there is this free cool option here. It has A through D, and it is basically a 360-degree adjustment that you can set. A being the highest temperature and D being the lowest temperature. I believe A is right at about 73 degrees and D is closer to 60 degrees. So anywhere you set it on that point, you can get, the damper will open for free cooling either at 73 or 60, depends on where you set it. That way, you know, it depends on how much cooling you need in the building. If it's a warehouse like this, you probably don't need it as cold as 70 degrees all the time. So we're going to set it up a little bit higher to try to save on some energy. So we'll do that right now. Just dial to the A and maybe turn it back 1/8 of a turn. So that's the wiring for this. All the other wiring parts, unless you don't have the wire harness already installed, you can throw them away. I'm going to use one more zip tie and try to tie this out of the way. Alright, now I'm going to close this door back up. We don't need it for anything anymore. things that come with this. It comes with two, kind of a pre-filter, so that when the air comes in, it doesn't collect too much dust, doesn't collect too much debris, leaves and all that stuff. And you can come up and wash these out. Probably should wash them out pretty regularly, once a year probably. Keep those free so you get good free cooling. This is the bottom rack that holds them in place. This is the divider that goes in between them. It goes about right, yep, exactly right there. This piece, I believe, goes on the bottom section. We'll look at that in a minute. This piece actually hooks on to the strip edge. Goes about right there. Just to give more watershed capability. Comes with two sets of triangles. The triangle with the edge cut off goes on the bottom. The one without goes on the top. That's here for now. And comes with two hoods. These are the top portions. The larger one goes here. The smaller one goes down here. Okay, so let's do this one first. Don't drop anything down this hole. In this building, it will drop about 10 feet into the filter rack. On some buildings, it will drop into a drop ceiling. Some it'll just fall clear to the warehouse floor or whatever building it's in. So, not recommended. You may never get your tools back if you drop them down there. This is where this barometric relief damper goes into effect. We're on the bottom section of this. Basically just screws to it. And we may have to take out these screws so we can get it to tuck up underneath this. If I can't get this to line up. Beautiful. Now on some units there's some pre-drilled holes. May have to guess on this one. Drill our own. But at the same time we need to mount these. They go with the painted side out. Line up the holes here. Nope, not those ones. Not those ones. Wrong side. Takes me a minute. Just like this. Those three holes line up just like that. So we'll put it on the outside of those three holes. And we'll punch them through. It does come with some self-tapping screws. Only 3, which is not enough to do this. You can use the other ones if you have to. This is basically where this goes. Bottom holes here, looks like there is spots for those to go. So that may help line up the whole thing. I usually don't like to put all the screws in until I have everything put together, just so I make sure everything lines up if I have to move something. There is some adjustment left to right on these. Other piece that I can't remember, it is actually a support. In case anybody puts weight on this, support support will keep it from caving in, and the holes line up really well all the way down. It's pretty good. Now for these self-tapping ones, I end up using a roofing screw, self-tapping, because I ran out of screws on the last unit. But this hood is all in place exactly where it's supposed to be. Alright, the next section is the filter compartment. And this thing is what goes underneath this. Just like that. See, it's done. I know this hood doesn't sit, directly out at a 90-degree angle. It's sloped down just a little bit to get the water to shed, and this is a little bit less than 90 degrees outside edge, so this goes here. Well, there are 3 screws here that need to come out. Probably why I ran out of screws last time. The other unit didn't come with them in it. It was just holes. This part holds the bottom of the filters, and there are 2 screws pre-drilled for them. Just have to line up the holes. Next we'll put this divider in. There's 2 holes on this slanted section that correspond with these holes in the top. And then this goes into the trough that we just mounted, and there's 1 screw that's there. This also acts as a support in case you get a good snow load. This hole right here is for this. You actually remove this to take out the filters, and there's a machine thread screw that goes into it. I think it's about 1/8 inch. But we're ready to put our filters in. They do have a flow direction, direction is going to go into the unit. Hold those for me, Ty. Just like that. Thing that doesn't really line up that great. There we go. Probably put 2 more in it just to keep it there. All I have is those ones left. And voila, that is an economizer section. Takes a little bit of time, it's hard to put together, but follow the video step by step. It's not too difficult.